Hey, what's up guys? Today I'll show you a mystery thriller film, The Body. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. The movie begins with Night Guard dashing into the forest, reaching the highway when an unexpected car hits him. Meanwhile, Inspector, who recently returned from Berlin, answers a call inviting him to the police station. After arriving, the inspector sees Night Guard in a coma at the hospital due to the incident. Agent Tall explains Night Guard has been working in the morgue for years, but he fled, knowing the refrigerated room's alarm isn't triggered. Agent Tall adds they only received the Night Guard's jittery request for a patrol car. Inspector and agents, composed of Agent Lady, Agent Tall, and Agent Mustache, arrive at the morgue. Agent Lady presumes Night Guard got panicked when seeing a corpse missing from the refrigerated room. The team sees the refrigerated room, and Inspector finds the corpse is left with a name-tagged Meika on its vacant mortuary box. The team goes to the front desk, watching the surveillance. They find out Night Guard left his post for 5 minutes and later fled. Agent Tall wonders the culprit's intentions. Inspector presumes it's for jokes. Later, police surround the woods and morgue. Inspector thinks a culprit stole Meika's corpse, but it's impossible to verify without access to the security room because someone changed the passcode. Shortly, the scientist team arrives at the morgue. Agent Mustache imparts Meika's information to Inspector. Meika recently died in the afternoon. She owned Pharmatach, a pharmaceutical lab, and her young husband, the chemist, is the director. Meika was considered powerful for possessing other businesses with her sisters and accessing other technological firms' shares. Meanwhile, Meika's sisters reminisce while watching their sister's wedding video. Suddenly, the house's telephone rings, and the chemist's sister answers the call. It's their father checking up on the chemist. She delivers their father's condolences to the chemist, and she and Meika's sister eventually leave him alone. Later, the chemist travels to a flat with his motorcycle. He visits the mistress and humbly kisses her upon meeting, assuring her the barrier in their secret relationship is removed. The chemist smokes, and the mistress prepares liquor for him, whose phone suddenly rings. The chemist hesitates to answer, asking why he isn't responding. He learns of Meika's disappearance upon answering from the police, requiring him at the morgue. The chemist drinks the liquor made by the mistress while telling the news to her, but she begs him to stay, but he insists on going to prevent suspicion. Soon after, Inspector interrogates the chemist at the morgue's office, inquiring Meika's personal details such as involvement in cults or if she had wronged someone. The chemist irritably answers no. Inspector then asks about any relatives, but the chemist suggests asking Meika's sisters instead, which Agent Tall nonchalantly replies they already did, learning Meika's sisters know nothing. Tall Agent informs him they contacted his house, but he's not home, so they call his mobile number instead. The chemist promptly reasons he bought painkillers. Shortly, Doctora, the morgue's forensic pathologist, arrives. Inspector and agents meet with Doctora, while the chemist discreetly calls the mistress, instructing to cautiously gather information about Night Guard in the hospital. The call ends and he immediately deletes his phone's call history. Inspector suddenly enters the office, telling him Doctora wants to talk to him. The chemist sits with Doctora in her office. Doctora restates the chemist's statement from the earlier afternoon, saying Meika returned from a long trip from LA despite dreading flight, and he adds that Meika went to therapy for it. Doctora explains stress from a long flight can lead to cardiac arrest, but she finds no recent detection of cardiovascular disease on Meika. It's impossible to verify without an autopsy. Doctora learns from the chemist that Meika didn't experience schizophrenic episodes, Parkinson's, and epilepsy, which concludes Meika's not catalepsy. It's a nervous condition that stiffens the body and disables locomotors despite someone moving them. Later, Inspector, Agent Tall, and Doctora discuss outside her office. Inspector considers Meika alive, but Doctora claims she had done her job right, but Meika's disappearance forces her to reconsider. Agent Tall reasons Meika could have shouted for help if she's alive, which Inspector and Doctora accept as logical. They discuss accordingly on the preliminary report that Meika died from cardiac arrest. Doctora elaborates that a person under extreme tension or administered certain substances can develop a heart attack, but they cannot conclude without Meika's corpse. Afterward, Doctora asks Inspector's insights during his talk with the chemist. Inspector discerns that the chemist nonchalantly refers to Meika in the past, while Inspector still refers to his long-dead wife as if she were alive. Storm reigns outside, thus making the chemist edgy on his seat. He attempts to leave, but Agent Mustache stops him. A blackout suddenly occurs, and Agent Mustache instructs him to return inside while they investigate. Alone, the chemist visits the refrigerated room upon hearing a noise inside. He sees a metallic box containing Meika's personal items besides her phone. Nearby, he finds a TH16 bottle inside an open locker. A flashback shows the chemist placing a drop of TH16 into a wine glass and giving it to Meika. At present, electricity returns and the chemist hides the bottle in his pocket. Inspector and Agent Tall arrive looking for him. Agent Mustache appears, announcing the fixed fuse, and then notices the metallic box supposedly inside the open locker that's been pried. Inspector suspects the chemist, asking if he took something. He instructs the chemist to empty his pockets despite him saying no. Inspector still doubts if the chemist emptied his pockets already, so he forcefully searches the chemist after his resistance to arms up, and Inspector finds a TH-16 bottle. Inspector asks about the bottle's purpose, but the chemist claims he only saw it on the floor. Inspector notices the Pharmage seal, asking about its effects. The chemist nervously answers that it's out of his expertise. The chemist's phone suddenly rings and answers it before them, hearing the mistress's updates, but he pretends it's from his sister. Shortly, he uses the bathroom and calls the mistress again, updating Meika's items and the TH-16 bottle he'd hidden in sudden appearance and her phone gone missing. The chemist suspects the mistress if she snitches on him, since only they both know the plan. The mistress denies it, saying she's not dumb. The chemist reminds the mistress to learn what happened to Meika's body. After smoking through the bathroom window, the chemist discards his cigarette, then washes his face when suddenly the window reopens. He finds a dinner invitation, Hotel Tivoli at 8:30 p.m., and a written sentence at the back, "I close my eyes and you're still with me." A flashback shows the chemist finding the dinner invitation left by Meika. Meika's upset because he forgot their dinner, but they reconciled and ended up making love on the bed. Later that night, the chemist received the mistress's text message saying the same sentence from the letter's back. At present, the chemist rips the letter, dumps it on the toilet, and presses the flush. But the flush doesn't work, and Agent Mustache enters looking for him. So the chemist disgustingly swallows the wet shredded letter. Outside, Agent Lady radios Agent Tall at the roof deck, reporting a shoe print from the emergency exit leading to the roof. The science team finally access the security room's new passcode. Agent Mustache brings the chemist to the room, and Inspector shows an air duct opening leading to the roof. He presumes it's the culprit's way to steal a body. Then, Inspector asks the chemist what 20 March 2012 means to him, since it's the security room's new passcode. A flashback shows the chemist keying the said date onto his office's panel. Meika visited him, who saw him input the date. For Meika, the said date was when they had a huge fight. She invited him for lunch with a motorcycle gift to use on the way to the restaurant. At present, the chemist, agents, and Inspector board the security room's elevator, which Inspector deduces as the culprit's escape route with Meika's corpse. His only problem is the culprit's identity. Luckily, a shoe print shows up as the first clue. Inspector asks the chemist's shoe size, and he answers it's 42. The elevator lights suddenly flicker. The door opens and sprinklers shower the hall. Agent Mustache receives a radio reporting fire somewhere in the building had triggered the alarm. Their group heads to the lobby when the chemist's phone rings. The chemist separates from the group, enters a private room, and answers the mistress's call. It reveals the said date is none other than the day he first met the mistress. Amidst talking, the chemist finds the mistress's name written on a name tag like Meika's. The chemist realizes that Meika is the culprit, toying him through framing him as responsible for stealing her body. All the taunting circumstances force him to think he's wrong, and thus endangers the mistress's life. The chemist dismisses the mistress's suggestion to escape and ends the call. The sprinklers stop, and the inspector waits for him to finish in the hall. He approaches him, guessing it's from the chemist's sister. The chemist plays along, saying his sister is worried for him. Inspector then demands his phone, which the chemist gives. Shortly, Inspector learns from Agent Mustache that the chemist's phone is empty from history calls, and the chemist he keeps calling is an unlisted number. Agent Mustache then reports Agent Lady's team will disperse in the woods once the storm passes. Then, Agent Tall delivers a bagged cigarette butt to Inspector, explaining it caused the fire near the bathroom sensors. They look at the chemist, believing the cigarette came from him. The TH-16 lab results arrive, and they learn it's a carbon toxin extracted from certain reptiles' fluids that dilutes the blood and can cause a cardiac arrest 8 hours after ingestion, leaving no trace. Afterward, the inspector instructs them to find a transfer car to bring the chemist to the police station. In the meantime, they confiscate his stock cigarettes and lock him in a room with constant surveillance. While locked up in a room, the chemist sleeps and dreams about seeing the wine glass he used to poison Meika. He wakes up and enters a room with rows of bagged corpses, hearing a ringing phone in one of the bags named Javier. He answers, but no one speaks. So he inspects the phone, finding numerous missed calls from Meika. He calls the number again, and a waitress from Arabsco responds, saying she found the phone in the bathroom. The chemist explains the phone's owner is dead, but the waitress replies the phone was left behind tonight. He asks if the phone shows redirecting. When the waitress says yes, he abruptly ends the call. A flashback shows the chemist and Meika at a Ravesco for celebration, and she would travel in LA. Meika excused herself and talked with a man. Shortly, she returned to their table, and the chemist asked for his identity. Meika explained it was her new lawyer to change their marriage contract regarding the property division, scaring the chemist until she revealed she was only kidding, and the man was her psychoanalyst. At present, the chemist calls the mistress, explaining someone intentionally left a phone for him. He then instructs her to research Javier's identity to understand Meika's game. The mistress enters her flat after running outside in the rain and asks where he got the phone, and he says from Javier's corpse. Meanwhile, Inspector cries outside the morgue, reminiscing about his late wife when Agent Tall delivers some documents regarding Meika from her sister. Agent Tall emphasizes the document's last page, showing Javier's invoice details. However, since they cannot contact him, they will visit his house. Eventually, the chemist sits one-on-one with the inspector in the morgue's office. Inspector shares his theory, explaining the chemist killed Meika with TH-16 and stole her body for no autopsy. The chemist defends himself, saying Inspector has no evidence, but Inspector is persistent. First, they tackle the time the chemist found his wife dead on the sofa. Inspector expresses his surprise to the chemist for being calm towards Meika's sudden death. The chemist reasons that dying of a heart attack is typical, because he experienced a heart scare 2 years ago without previous signs. Second, the inspector asks the chemist about Meika's first meeting. The chemist met Meika stranded in the mountains with flat tires, so he helped her reach the Avalon Hotel on Santa Catalina Island, where they realized they stayed in the same hotel. Third, the inspector asks what the chemist did after Meika's death. He replies Meika's sisters and his sister visited him, and somberly reminisced about Meika. Inspector reminds him that the police went to his house that they found empty. The chemist reasons the painkillers, but he scoffs when the inspector asks for a receipt. Afterward, Inspector shows the chemist the documents Meika's sister gave. A proof stating Meika hired a detective named Javier because she suspected the chemist was cheating. Cheating is considered a violation of their marriage contract, which leads to divorce, meaning the chemist would forfeit the shared properties. Inspector says a team already went to Javier's house to search the invoice. Shortly, the chemist brings Inspector to the bagged corpse's room to show Javier's body. When they arrive, Inspector points out it's not Javier. The chemist checks the corpse only to see a different face. The chemist vomits in the bathroom, and the inspector receives a report from Agent Tall saying someone took Javier's pen drive. So after calling the judge for a warrant, he orders Agent Tall and his unit to search the chemist's house. After vomiting, the chemist calls the mistress. He learns the mistress found an envelope containing a pen drive under her door. The mistress packs her belongings while they talk. Afterwards, she sends the pen drive's contents, containing their photos dating and the invoice revealing his murder plan. The chemist is scared that Meika will hurt the mistress, but somehow relieved to know that the mistress leaves her lift to escape Meika. Suddenly, the chemist hears the mistress's phone crash on the ground, and the call ends. In the morning, the chemist eventually confesses after assaulting Inspector. He admits he met the mistress at the university he worked in, fell in love with her, and trusted her with his innermost secrets. Although the mistress left him for some time, reasoning she couldn't be with someone married, so he freed their secret relationship by killing Meika. However, if the chemist murdered Meika, Inspector cannot comprehend that she's still alive. The chemist deduces Meika switched the wine free from TH-16, but instead took a sedative that rendered her unconscious, thus catalepsy. The chemist warns the inspector about Meika's capability to get what she wants. Agent Tall then reports to Inspector the discovered incriminating evidence inside the chemist's residence, including a recently used unregistered gun and a mortuary map. Inside the chemist's car trunk are a shovel and a sports bag containing a shoe, matching the shoe print on the morgue's emergency exit. Meanwhile, the police learn the truth from night guard, who survives comatose. The night guard saw Meika's corpse in the elevator, when suddenly it disappeared in exchange for a man wearing a balaclava mask and firing a gun at him, which sent him fleeing after contacting the police. Eventually, Inspector transports the chemist to the station with a patrol car. While traveling, police cars gather on the highway, and Agent Lady reports to the inspector they found a body upon their arrival. They discover Meika's body in the woods. Afterward, Inspector reveals the mistress that the chemist keeps mentioning doesn't exist, with laid statements from witnesses. Then the inspector instructs the agents to immediately deliver the corpse to the morgue. Inspector tries to bring the chemist to the patrol car when he suddenly flees. While running, he stumbles and asks the catching up inspector to call the ambulance. Inspector ignores him and shares his wife's cause of death instead. Inspector believes his wife died in a murder. A flashback shows a driver crashing into their car, leaving the fatally wounded inspector's wife in the car without calling for help. At the back of the car was his 10-year-old daughter, who watched her mother die an hour later with Inspector. Years later, the daughter told her father that she remembered an Avalon Hotel keychain emblem hanging from the rearview mirror, revealing Mako with the chemist as the hit-and-run driver. The movie ends with Inspector showing his daughter's photograph. It turns out his daughter is none other than the mistress herself. Inspector admits he stole the body, and his daughter planted fabricated documents and evidence. They both are the actual culprits that orchestrated everything to frame the chemist to avenge the death of their beloved one. However, the daughter wasn't convinced at first and so decided to play the chemist's mistress until the chemist confessed his deepest secrets to her, including the hit and run. Eventually, the chemist slowly dies, learning the daughter laced the liquor he drank with TH16 8 hours ago. Therefore, the inspector will portray to the police as cardiac arrest caused by stress. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.